Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today my guest is Cara Williams, and she is a senior partner over at Mercer. And today's interview is part of our Milken Global Conference coverage series where we bring to you the best from the conference, the organizers, VIPs, speakers, and panelists. So first thing first, Cara, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Cara, so we got a lot to talk about today. I definitely want to get more into what you're doing over at Mercer and, of course, your experience in sustainability. But I guess just to get us kicked off, I want to talk a little bit about the conference. So Milken Global Conference in Beverly Hills, I know you attended. What's your connection? Have you been in the past? Is this your first time attending? Give me some more.
Yeah, so I am lucky to say that I have been in the past. I think this might have been number 3 or 4. Can't remember.
Ooh.
Yeah, but they're always, always amazing. Obviously, they set up an incredible agenda, like of speakers and speaker panels, and there's just tons of places that you can go and just sit and be a basically reactive participant. But it's really the conversations that take place along the sides. And I've had some incredible reach outs, and it's led to me personally or my firm having some really interesting collaborations with organizations that are fascinating and doing great stuff. So it's always exciting to go. It's exhausting, but it's it is so valuable, and I think it's valuable to our clients. It's valuable to my colleagues and to me personally.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's funny. To me, it's like my Super Bowl of conferences every year, kind of is the feeling I have. I'm curious how you, with so much going on, and this is just my curiosity here, how do you choose what panels you're going to pop in or otherwise? Because I've had other people, they just say it's like a Disneyland for like content. It's like a brain candy. I don't know. How do you choose what you're going to go to? Because I could never figure that out. That's just for me.
Well, no, you're totally right. I mean, I definitely, I do try to sit in on the ones that I know are extremely relevant to kind of the daily work that I do. So, sort of chasing the sustainability things. But given the breadth of content, sometimes I just go, ooh, that sounds really interesting. And it'll be something I know nothing about and I'll never have probably anything to do with. But it's sort of like the chat GPT of conferences, right? You can just kind of,
oh my gosh, you just now dropped another bomb. Now I got another one. I got the Disneyland at conferences. I got the chat GPT at conferences. I got the brain candy.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. That's wonderful. Yeah. And let's switch it up a bit here, but thanks for sharing that and your experience. And you're right. I'm on 3 or 4 conferences in now too, actually. Time flies, I swear. So just as we get into the rest of the discussion, let's maybe just start with talking a little bit more about, for those that aren't aware, haven't worked with, talk a little bit about Mercer and what you do.
Sure. So we're part of the Marsh McLennan family, which already sort of really broadens our portfolio of capabilities. Within Mercer itself, we have 3 sort of clear, distinct practices. So we've got what we call our health, wealth, and our career practices. So health and career are very much focused on HR and HR consulting, and wealth is very much on the investment management and investment consulting side. So kind of 2 sides of the people business, investments and people. It's a fascinating place. I mean, I've been there over 20 years, and it is rarely a dull moment, and it's always something to learn about there.
Yeah, I like the way you explain this. And I know that one of the things that Mercer is involved in and cares about is sustainability. How would you define sustainability across, the people side of things and maybe even in the investment domains?
Yeah, I don't think you can be in the people business without thinking about sustainability and the importance of it, because vast majority of businesses are people-based. So for us, it's always been about aligning purpose with performance, and that's working with companies and asset owners on aligning that, right? So if we want to stick to, sort of nomenclature that's becoming less popular, like ESG, so environmental, social, and governance considerations, we believe that those 3 components are still really important to generate long-term value for both people and portfolios within companies. And if you look at like McKinsey continues to do their research, and they found that companies with strong gender and ethnic diversity on executive teams are 39% more likely to outperform on profitability. So that's pretty substantial and leads to the bottom line. And we think these things are not mutually exclusive. That really thinking about sustainability core to good, strong profitability and growth.
Yeah. As you mentioned, you've been, at Immerse for, 20 plus years. I feel like that even just the word and the way we view sustainability has kind of evolved over the last couple of decades. At one point, it was kind of like a catchphrase. Then it was like, oh, is that like just, something that feels good, or it's part of like an investment thesis that, to attract dollars, maybe for some individuals. It's more ingrained in the culture. People are starting to understand it more, decades later. It's not just a catchphrase, like we're seeing the impact of it. How do you feel just overall about in your tenure about, how this has evolved from your perspective, just the idea of even sustainability in context to what we do?
Yeah, you've hit numerous nails on the head. I think that initially it was very much sort of a marketing opportunity, especially if you're thinking about investment management. Calling a fund an ESG fund or a sustainable fund was sort of a neat label, which didn't, frankly, say very much. Ultimately, sustainability is about risk and opportunity, right? It's looking at the potential negative side. So if you're a corporation, obviously, if you look at the sort of social aspects, there are significant risks in how you treat your people or how you operate in the communities that you have operations in. Environmental risks, again, if you have operations in areas which are more exposed to environmental impacts, that's going to affect your bottom line. And then obviously governance, right? So it has very much evolved from a neat marketing label to something that I think is becoming much more fundamental in how organizations are organized, how they're thinking about their business, and then how people are investing, right? So it's taking into account all available information, all available risks that could potentially impact a business or investment portfolios.
So this is obviously a hot topic in any conference or just any conversation, really, especially when it comes to investments or otherwise. I'm thinking about the role of data, AI, and how these are going to shape or play a part in the sustainability landscape in the coming years. Any thoughts on that? Like just the role of data and AI and kind of this new environment?
Yeah, so data has been kind of core component and challenge, frustration to basically the buy side, so the asset managers, as well as the organizations that are trying to report out. If you can't manage what you can't measure, it is going to be a frustrating exercise. I think data has gotten significantly better, and there is no question that I think the excuse of organizations and investment managers saying, well, we don't have access to the data, even private markets are getting much better about reporting. Europe is way ahead in reporting requirements, and that's for the private sector as well. So I think that's becoming much less of an issue, and which is a good thing in the end, because it is a foundational component to either running a business or to investing. AI is quickly becoming really critical to how, if you look at things like impact investment, which have been relatively difficult to truly measure your impact. But now things like using echo technology to assess, increased bird song to see whether or not you're having a positive environmental impact is really unique and really quite interesting. And you think about drones and the information that they're gathering, it makes it a lot easier and more accessible for folks to invest in impact where you can actually measure whether or not you're truly having an impact. So I think AI is critical when it comes to global supply chains, detecting labor rights violations. On the positive side, boosting social sustainability. We, with our colleagues over at Marsh and Oliver Wyman, have developed something called Centrisk, which really allows you to do all that, but you wouldn't be able to do it without AI. Climate tech innovation has been rapidly growing. I think the technology has completely changed the face of sustainability, and the number of organizations that are popping up, small startups, all across aspects of AI and climate tech is really exciting and is going to have a really, I think, a massively positive change.
So, Cara, we're heading into, the second half of the year, or we're in the second half of the year, I should say. What's up? What's next? What's next for you? What's on the agenda? What's going on for the rest of the year for you?
Yeah, so staying on top of the regulatory changes,
Yes, ma'am.
that keeps us busy. We look around the globe. I think what's happening in the Middle East as far as sustainability is concerned is fascinating. They are very quickly leapfrogging the rest of the world. And when it comes to social innovations and advancing societies and communities, We kind of have to bow our hats to the work that's taking place in the Middle East. So that keeps us extremely busy. They've already made major strides when it comes to the environmental aspect. But I think when it comes to the social piece, we're seeing a lot happening in that market. Europe as well is very similar, where again it's more regulatory, but sort of centrally the governments are uniting to come up with what is more streamlined, a little bit less cumbersome. I say kind of keeping our eye and our finger on the pulse of what's going on around the globe. And I've skipped Asia and the United States, but two major markets where there's a lot happening as well. So yeah, it's a very large world with lots of focuses, lots of different challenges that are trying to be addressed. And I think in the main, most organizations and asset owners are trying to do what's right for their shareholders and their underlying participants. That's what we're here to do, is help all of those within those areas.
Wonderful. Well, Cara, this has been great having you on the show today and catching up and hearing about your experience, of course, the Milken Global Conference and just the work you're doing at Mercer, of course, as well. That being said, if somebody's listening or watching this and if they want to continue to follow your journey or to learn more about Mercer, how do they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a pretty regular blog that covers all different aspects of sustainability, sort of environmental, social, as well as governance, and who's sort of well positioned to make a change. And then, of course, Mercer, we've got our websites and information that people can always access there as well.
Perfect. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Cara, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. Enjoyed it.